Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Z and you're watching Dr. Z PhD, the place to be for expert info on gender. A few months ago, I did a video on gender transition where I discussed various stages of transition, and some of you have asked me to go into greater detail of each stage. So in this video, I'd like to discuss in greater detail what constitutes social transition for trans women, or non-binary individuals who are leaning more toward feminine side of gender spectrum. Also, make sure to subscribe to my channel so that way you don't miss any new content coming from me. Now, let's look at social transition in greater detail, and I'd like to break it down into two categories today. First category will explore overview of social transition, what it really entails, and in the second category I will discuss things to consider prior to starting social transition, and will explore obstacles that may affect social transition as well. Alright, let's get started by getting an overview of social transition. Social transition is usually the first step many trans women or non-binary people tend to take. Often it is accompanied with hormonal transition, which is discussed in much future videos in detail. Generally speaking, anything you do in social settings or that has to do with regards to interactions with others falls in the category of social transition. Some people start social transition simply by coming out, either to their partners, their families, their friends, or to their co-workers. Coming out as a part of social transition communicates to people around you how you see yourself in regards to your gender. Choosing a preferred name and pronouns is also part of social transition, and often people will find a way to feminize their current name to keep the initials intact. For example, I have seen Michael change to Michelle or James to Jesse, while others get very creative with choosing a name and often will even go to such an extent as completely changing their last name. Apart from coming out and choosing a name, presenting in public is a big part of social transition. And you can decide for yourself if you want to present part or full-time in your identified gender. Changing physical appearance as a part of social transition can often include wearing more feminine clothes. Often people will start by slowly feminizing to present in a more androgynous way, to later slowly push envelope to feminize even more, while some choose to wear very feminine clothing from the start. Also, beginning to style hair in a more feminine way, or wearing hair extensions or a wig is another way of social transition, or just growing your hair out. Makeup is also part of social transition for some people, and I often recommend watching makeup tutorials on YouTube for those who are new to makeup. It's a really great way to learn to do makeup application. It is important to keep in mind that how far you want to take your appearance is a really personal preference. Makeup, clothing, and general appearance, while culturally symbolically represent one aspect of femininity, doesn't necessarily denote what a woman is. Not all women express themselves in this way, and not all women wear feminine clothing or even makeup, or keep their hair long for that matter. So be careful not to get lost in the stereotypes. It is important to really spend some time thinking of how you see yourself as a woman or non-binary femme. And a social transition can be a great experience in helping you figure out what works out best for you. In addition to appearance, tucking your genitals to create a more feminine profile is also part of social transition, including non-surgical breast enhancements to help you accentuate breast size, which can range from stuffing your bra with clothing or purchasing gels. Another element of social transition is starting to undergo hair removal process, either laser or electrolysis, or to remove your facial hair, as well as voice training, again, if that's something that's important to you to undertake. I have listed below a great YouTube channel from Anna who does voice training in case if some of you are interested, so please go ahead and take a look at her channel. It's a really great resource. In general, anything you can do without medical or surgical intervention to get closer to your true gender is considered to be a social transition. It is very important to keep in mind that social transition drastically varies from one person to another and will vary depending on how you identify, how you see yourself, and what resources you have at your disposal. Which actually brings me to the most important point of this discussion. Things to consider prior to social transition, as well as obstacles that one might encounter. One of the things to consider is to have some form of plan in mind. Are you starting social transition to explore your gender identity? Which is really a great and a safe way to explore your gender expression. If that's the case, take small baby steps and explore how you feel. Now, if you're starting social transition as a stepping stone into your gender transition and are sure of your gender identity, think about your plan. Because once you come out to everyone, people may respond to you coming out differently. If you don't have a support system in place, it can be difficult to go through this period alone. Also consider where you work. Is it a safe environment to come out? Because many places still fire transgender people, which is horrible, but it does happen, and that's a sad reality of today's workforce. So before you begin social transition, see if you can outline some kind of a plan for yourself. Be mindful of obstacles you might encounter. For starters, it is more challenging for trans women to social transition than it is for trans men. And that's really primarily because for many passability is very important. And while hormones take some time to feminize, some people need more than hormones, especially facial feminization surgery, in order to pass. Again, if passability is important to you. So starting to change your appearance with clothing and makeup while you're still going through hair removal process in your face can result in misgendering, unfortunately. And sadly, our society is still far from gender diverse and inclusive, which makes it difficult for many to start socially transitioning in public. For this reason, many trans women wait until they have completed facial hair removal or have been on hormones for some time before they start expressing themselves in public. It's just a personal choice and preference and a safety awareness thing. Accessibility to resources is another huge obstacle in social transition, especially financial resources. Not having money for hair removal or clothing can really affect social transition, and most insurances won't cover hair removal. Now, these obstacles again are not in no way intended to prevent you from social transition. The point is being mindful that these obstacles do exist. This way you can really set up a very realistic expectations for yourself, and you can also mentally prepare yourself for any challenges that may arise. Often people see YouTubers transitioning very quickly, and I assume it will happen exactly the same way for them. And the truth is, transition is very different. And a YouTuber you watched might have great access to resources that you don't really have access to, and that makes a big difference. So there you go, a summary of social transition. Again, as I said, anything you can do socially without intervention of surgery is considered a social transition. And do keep in mind that some of the obstacles that may arise prior to studying are there to really for you to be better equipped in dealing with them when they do come up. If you plan or have gone through social transition, do comment below and share your experience. Especially share any tips or insights you would like to share with others that might be really helpful. And if you're new to my channel, consider subscribing, and I look forward to seeing all of you next Friday. Bye.